Alright, so what we are doing today is we are working on mounting the fuel pump and the fuel filter in Dan's truck. So if you come on this way, you can kind of see what we're doing. So we built a plate so that it can sit off of the frame a little bit, but we can still get at these bolts down here. And then this little mount over here is going to be where the fuel filter sits. So it's going to be fuel filter here, pump here, and then it's going to go forward to the engine that way. We'll put another fuel filter in between the pump and the engine. We're using this little bracket, which is 1/4 inch, which will be a little bit helpful on this bar right here to help kind of give it a little extra support. And it's angled off just so that we can get the fuel pump in and out very easily. It's just kind of a simple setup. Yeah. So we were worried about the holes right here being too close to the weld, so I think I achieved it. Hopefully the bolts will go in and out easily, nicely. Got a good penetration up on top with the plate on the frame. Now we're going to put a bead down this way. So here's the fuel filter setting in line. We're gonna have a 90-degree on this side, and it's gonna go over here to the tank.
We've got the tank just kind of sitting back in here, and that just to kind of look at the lines. But as you can tell from the filter, so we've got the filter now sitting there to the pump, and then we'll run the pump up, all the way up, and then we will run the other filter somewhere up along the frame rail, probably underneath the cab. But nonetheless, fuel lines are coming along, pretty short guy sitting there. I am going to build some sort of a bumper because it does bother me a little bit that these fittings are right here at this back panel. So I will put, I don't know if it'll be the factory bumper or a modified factory bumper or what, but there will be something to hopefully help protect the rear end just a little bit so it's not a big old bomb back here. But nonetheless, moving along. While we're building this, let's talk about it a little bit. So I went on to, well, I don't remember, Drift Motion or something. Drift Motion, I think, is where I spend most of my time. And I looked specifically for a fuel pump that was frame mounted or outside of the tank mounted. I know for cooling purposes and that it would always be better to be inside the tank. So I've got two Fuel Lab 6 micron fuel filters. One obviously right or before the pump, and one will be after the pump. And they are completely serviceable, so after the element gets dirty and whatever, I can take them all apart, put the new element in, rebuild them. So that's why I got those. And then the fuel pump is a MagnaFlow 750. It is a obviously outside the tank frame mounted fuel pump. I went for this for two reasons really. One, I didn't want to have to modify the tank or do anything like that, even though that would have been better for cooling. And two, Felix currently runs a frame-mounted fuel pump for, I don't know, the last 7 years, and he's had no issues with it. It's really been a good pump for Felix, not the same brand, but so that's why I did it. So this one is good for up to 1,000 horsepower at 100 psi. As I'm not pushing that, I will never have to worry about that. It is a good pump for streetcar applications, which in this case, this is what I'm doing, as I will take it to the track, but I will daily drive this. So that's the two reasons I did it. We still need to, of course, wire it, finish the plumbing of it, but just to give you kind of where we're going and what we got. There you go.
I can't find my way back to you.
All right, so as you can see, this is the first leg of the fuel line. So it goes down underneath the intake and then to this point right here. At that point, we will put the other side of the hose on and run it down. We will end up putting a clamp right at that bolt right there to hold this all in place. It is off the fuel filter, oil filter, so I can easily get that back off. And other than some little wire tidying up down here, it's looks like it's pretty happy.
So this is the finished product of our flex fuel sensor. And then coming back, here's our feed line and return line. We will put a clamp somewhere right around here to be able to make sure that's held. And then we have our second fuel filter here, which came out really nice. And then these lines will go back. We'll figure out some clamping wise from here to the bedside.
All right, so as you can see, we have basically decided our best option was to loom everything together and then have a little branch off. So that's what we did. We've loomed it, and then we will end up putting another clamp here. We just ran out of them. So we'll put a clamp there to hold that. And of course, we've got clamp here. Then we went through, we drilled a hole in the body so that goes through. Then we wrapped it around and went through the body mount. And then if you come over here and look, then we have basically just welded some nuts on, or some bolts on, and put some studs, or to make some studs, and ran it to at least the back of the cab. So now we've got to work on how we're going to route it around the bed. We haven't made a decision on the bed floor yet, but that's our next goal. So, and then to the fuel pump, run it to the fuel pump, to the tail lights, and sending unit for the fuel tank. I think that's everything I have back here. I left in case I wanted to put a third brake light, and I'm still considering maybe getting like a small LED strip for the very back, just to kind of add as another little brake light. I don't know if I'll do it or not, but I wanted the option. Guess we'll just see where the day takes us. Ashley and I have worked on this for a couple weeks now, trying to figure out how to run the wiring for the rear. We've basically run it on the outside of the frame, through the frame at this cross member, and then out. And so right now we're going to put some studs in, and we're going to basically run the wiring up to this back cross member, and then we'll go across the cross member and then to the fuel pump, and then we will figure out how to run it over to the lights. right, so I've got a hole drilled here. Now the hole is too small for the grommet, but it's the biggest drill bit I have, which is 3/4. I need to go up to like a 7/8. So I make a mark literally just right around the outside of the hole with a white pen, and I'm going to use a burr bit to clean up basically all of that white. So that way when I get all the white done, I know that it's bigger than what hopefully I need, and that's just my cheap way of stepping up the hole size slowly, as opposed to going out and buying a much bigger bit, which I just don't have. Alright, so we have drilled the hole through the crossmember, run the line in, goes underneath the pump, and then is going to come up over the rear tank support. It'll run in, and then we'll end up drilling a hole through this back piece on the body, on the rear of the bed, and then we will end up running the lines either which way, the wires each way. Obviously to the left taillight, right taillight, and that'll be it for all the rear of the taillights. We did pull the sending unit wire and the fuel pump feed wire. Both, of course, fuel pump feed goes here with the ground, and then the sending unit with the ground will come here. So these will get loomed separately and tied in.
Alright, so we have it deviated here because obviously it's going to go to the passenger side taillight and the driver side taillight. So we're going to kind of hide it up underneath this back area and kind of come over to the taillight like that. We're going to put connectors on it so we can connect it to there, and then if we need to, we can just take this wire out and remove the bed. And they're all in nice loom. We drilled a hole, I don't know if you can see it, but we drilled a hole over here that goes through that. So when we want to take the bed off, we're just going to pull the wire from here, and then we'll just take the bed off. This is the only thing that's going to be connected to the body panels on the back side.
I need some connectors somewhere, so if I ever want to take the bed off or something like that, I have a place that I can disconnect. So in this case, I'm doing it at the taillights. So white is my ground, black is my running lights, red is my turn signal stop light. So the ground, I am just going to ground to like the mount or something like that on the bed. So I just need to put an eyelet on that one just to kind of ground out right there. The other ones, I'm going to connect to a connector and that, so I can unplug these lights if I need to take them off for some reason. So in order to do these, you got to have a special tool to crimp these, and what you do is you stick the first little section in there, and I sometimes just fight with this thing, but sometimes you stick the first little section in there and you kind of get it started to crimp. And then you actually crimp it. Squeeze down, get it good and snug. So the first section is crimped. That's what actually holds the wire, does the connector. The second piece up here holds the weather tight piece, the seal, if you will. So you just gotta do that, and then there it is. So now those two are ready to go into the connector. So on the tool here, it has A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have another one somewhere, not over here, okay, that has a little different. But anyways, you can see the holes, the gaps in there are bigger and smaller in certain ones. So depending on if you're doing smaller ones of these, bigger ones of these, depending on your wire size, basically, depends as to what you're going to do. For mine, it is like a 14 to 16 gauge wire, so it's not very big. I'm using A and 4 most of the time to crimp this. And then after you're done, it doesn't really matter which one, as long as you just make sure that the corresponding one goes in there. So you just set those in, wait until they snap, kick this piece over, and there you go. One connector done. We'll have an eyelet on that, so I will hook that up, and this will plug in. If I ever need to take this off, this will basically or hook up to itself, ground out here. So if I ever have to take this off, I'll have to take that wire off anyways, which is why I didn't put it into get a 3-piece connector, a 3-prong connector. One is for running lights, one is for the other way around. Running lights, brake turn, just tie it into my painless wiring, get the connector on the other side, so then when they connect, it's all set up, good to go. And if I need to take the light off, it's just a plug and 2 bolts. Alright, so we have finished up with the wiring on the taillights. We have the connector sitting there. I left, in case I want to put reverse lights on, I've left the wire out. I haven't even plugged anything into the transmission, so I don't have to worry about it necessarily grounding out. And then basically I pinch this connector up in here, in between the body and this bolt. So, and it seems to hold it just fine when it's up in there, when you kind of shove it and force it up in there. So, there we go. Let's see if we can make some lights work.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up.
Thanks for watching. Sorry it takes us so long to get anything done, but we're making progress.
I can't regret leaving you alone until you find your way back home. Until you find your way back home. Don't let me drown. Don't let me drown. Don't let me drown. Until you find your way back home. I can't regret leaving you alone until you find your way back home.